Hey, it's Warren Whitlock here, ready to talk about all of our favorite subject, food, the future of food. Let's talk about that now on this episode of Emerging Technologies. Everything is getting better because of the new technologies and how they're applied. And today I'd like to talk about something that just actually makes a difference. There's a lot of people talking about what we need to do to improve food, the nutritional content, the knowing where it comes from, knowing about the processes. But who's got time to go inspect the farms and the way animals are treated and the way this stuff is treated and why the food isn't as tasty as it used to be? And there's answers for all those things, and there's people dedicating their careers to it, but it doesn't show up in the supermarket shelves. Maybe someone in restaurants when they know about it, but you can't really tell what's what. And so it's been something I've been following for some time. And I advise a company that I think is just right at the heart of what it is. And I met with them over the last couple of days, and I said, I need to share this with podcast listeners. It's not something that's for sale or anything like that. I just want you to know about the technology they're using, how they are helping small farmers around the world, and what that's going to mean for reaching goals like the UN goals of the development goals that were set by the UN at the turn of the century, turn of the millennium, the new goals for ending poverty and things like that. And we'll talk about some of those things. But first, I'd like to show you their short video.
In the heart of this landscape lies a story often untold, a story of those who cultivate life, growing not just crops, but the future. Yet, hidden from view, they carry the weight of challenges that few truly understand. They are the smallholder farmers, feeding the world, yet often cut off from the benefits their efforts create. Climate change strikes them hardest, threatening their livelihood and their land. But there's a way to help them not just survive, but thrive. And you too are part of this story. You're connected to the very roots of these farms. Whether you realize it or not, the choices you make ripple through these fields, shaping the future of food, fuel, and fiber. And now, there's an opportunity. A way to ensure that your impact isn't just good for business, but also for the planet. At Spiro Carbon, we provide the tools to transform these opportunities into reality. Our technology makes it simple to support smallholder farms in reducing greenhouse gases, turning your supply chain into a force for good. Through automated data collection and our AI-driven analysis, we ensure every step of your GHG reduction project is accurate, transparent, and verifiable, using blockchain to lock in that trust. When you support these projects, you're not just offsetting your carbon footprint, you're empowering the very farmers who work tirelessly to feed the world. You're giving them a new stream of income, resilience in the face of climate change, and the opportunity to share in the future they help to build. Spiro Carbon is here to guide you. Together we can create a future where sustainability isn't just a buzzword, but a reality. One farm, one field, 1 ton of carbon at a time. How will you be part of this story?
The name of the company, of course, is Spiro Carbon, and they are dealing in carbon credit. And then what I'm talking about more is about the philosophy than their actual technology, but I'll explain that briefly. They are able, with the use of satellite data that covers every square foot of the world, every square meter, for those of you not where I'm from, and they can mark off and tell how much chlorophyll is being created in that location. And the presence of chlorophyll means that something green is growing, and that naturally sequesters carbon. There's a value of that in the carbon markets now because of these SDG goals that carbon credit markets have opened up, and big companies are buying carbon credits to offset the carbon they produce. A lot of times, the problem with producing carbon is that somebody says, I'm going to sequester carbon, I'm going to grow stuff. And then they say, and here's the carbon credit, put them on the market and sell them. So who knows how well that works? But again, most of us can't go out and inspect the farm. To be able to get the food to help us meet our carbon reduction goals, they've started certifying this. They can look with the satellite. It's an amazing process. Their AI can calculate from a satellite picture, and they're updated on a regular basis. And all they need to do is go to the farm and then map out where the farm is, go to the corner of the acreage, stand there and push a button on a phone. Go to the next corner, push a button. And you do that until you have mapped the exact geo coordinates of your property. And it can be any size farm. It can be a small 1 acre farm all the way up to major industrial farms. But mostly the big ones already have many things in place for this. The smaller ones are the ones that can really help. And they picked Thailand to do this and rice. The reason why is it's quite an organized system. I think everybody knows that rice is grown in a wet place where they can flood the field with water. It turns out that makes methane. Methane is 25 times more deadly than the carbon dioxide. And so to cut the methane and carbon dioxide, instead of flooding the field continuously, they flood the fields. That always sounds funny. I live in a desert. I'd never flood a field. But they flood the fields twice during the year, and that cuts down the carbon and methane produced immensely. So they're getting a savings in cost of whatever operation they have to do to make the farm be flooded, and they're helping the environment. Then, because what they do sequesters carbon, they're able to have legitimate carbon credit. And because of the satellite looking at it, they're able to turn that into data that can back up, so that if a carbon credit is worth X, it's now worth X plus because it's certified. It's like having a good housekeeping seal on your food, or that this has been certified. The government says this is good stuff, whatever that kind of thing is. But this is a private operation that does this, and it also returns back to the investors who helped put these things in. And it turns out where the project is running right now in Thailand, it's very organized that all small farms belong to co-ops and associations, and they basically all answer to what the Department of Agriculture said, Ministry of Agriculture in Thailand. It's a system that works because that's how fertilizer gets distributed, and that's how the rice gets sold, and all the things that happen on their farm happen that way. With that association, it's growing very rapidly, but each farm needs something to get a little bit more data than the satellite can measure. There's some other data that they collect by installing some equipment, and the equipment can, with the extra income for the farmer, most of the money that's collected here for the carbon credits ends up with the farmer. Because it's so automated, it doesn't take somebody buying it for 10 cents and selling it for $1. I think they give 70 cents to the farmer, where some other programs would only give about 30 cents. And so in one season, the equipment, whatever that investment is, can be paid back. And then at the end of that, I know some of this is because of the way it was designed, and it turns out that what they're doing mostly now is certification. But if there is somebody who's helping these small farms get this equipment, once they do, their payback is a year or two, and with appropriate bonus, interest, whatever, however that deal is done. And the same organizations that already sell the supplies to them and buy the wheat can set these things up. And as for the simple thing of using the technology, the satellite data and whatnot, to certify the quality of these carbon credits, they're able to add more value to the investors, to the farm, And of course, the people buying the carbon credits are the big corporations that need to offset something they're doing to pump out carbon dioxide themselves. And we need some of the stuff that's made by the plants like that. That's how the whole system is working: overall carbon reduction and also profits for the people who participated in it, down to the small farmer. Instead of getting taken advantage of by the system, they're able to get the bulk of the income that comes out of this. So that's a nice way that technology is making the world a better place. In the future, you're going to be able to see a seal on something that's claiming that they're doing carbon credit, saying this is certified. It's all being stored on blockchain, so it's an immutable record. We've talked about blockchain before. The most important thing that blockchain does is allow for a encrypted immutable record. Immutable means that it can't be changed. Encrypted means that you can't be just read by anybody. It's difficult to get into. It's a technology that was invented for Bitcoin so that I could send $1 to you and you could get $1, and then we don't have to wonder, what do I do with this piece of paper that is the dollar? We can do that electronically now. And so that has allowed all sorts of new options. So we've got IoT, the Internet of Things sensors. We've got satellites. They're cool. You got AI and you got blockchain, creating these technologies working together. And the results of these things tend to get exponential. Now that it's set up, that satellite doesn't stay in one place. The satellite goes around the earth and collects information everywhere. Other satellites are more like geostationary, meaning that they're at the right height of orbit, that they orbit the planet at the same rate that the planet is spinning. And so it's as if it's always in the same place. That's satellite that you would get a TV signal from. And other ones move, and that's all worked out. Somebody's done satellite. I'm getting more of them all the time, but there's some in different orbits that either stay in one place relative to the planet, or move around. And the AI has matured to the point that really can read what's best for this and give a recommendation for that farm. And imagine what the traditional thought of a poor farming family using tools that we all thought they all used, but now it's a lot more mechanized than it was. But they're using whatever they have and working the land and putting in long days gets them. The difference now is, with this technology, they have a little bit easier of a life. They're able to do more. They're able to either get more farms or more yield or whatever, and they can be pulled out of poverty, and the system around them all prospers. And in the end, when you eat the food, that it's come from a system that is improving the planet instead of making it worse. Win-win on this one. That's how agriculture going. We've seen a lot of other things, tracking where the plant or the animal was that produced the food that you're eating, and through all the steps that goes through, becoming more open. A blockchain by its very nature is public enough that not anyone, because you have to have the tools and access to get to the blockchain, but many people can, and in some cases, anybody with an internet connection can investigate and find out where the transactions happened and where things move from one place to another. It helps in inventory, so that if somebody's responsible for keeping the food fresh and right to get to the intended recipient, all along the way, any delays or mishandling is noted. There are sensors in the transportation that keep track of everything. Everything. If you put it on a boat, a ship, where the ship is at any time. And it's fascinating how this is all working together without being anything that's whiz bang different in our life. It's not like we went from not having smartphones to having smartphone, or not having the internet to having the internet, or those type of things. It is just basically farmers making food, and it gets to us. So and I use the example of rice in Thailand. There's a whole lot of other things that get made in just Thailand, because it's a big bread basket country for making all sorts of things, food for us. And then there's all the other countries that do that, and that business is just growing like crazy. But it can be then applied by another industry and another industry. And I've talked to some of those, and I'll report back when I see where else it's being produced. So that is the future of food, being greener, fresher, better, and profitable all at once, thanks to emerging technologies.